Hi, everyone, and welcome to Lurking for Legends, a live video cast where we do live reads with amazingly talented authors of all genres. I'm Christy Stratus, historical suspense and historical fantasy author, and my awesome co-hosts are epic fantasy author Richard H. Stevens and science fiction author David M. Kelly. Lurking for Legends is an interactive broadcast, so we encourage viewers to chime in with questions for our guests or comment on what we're reading to you. So tonight you might recognize her. We've had her here before. Tonight our guest is RomCom author Miranda Oh. So welcome back, Miranda.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah.
Hi. How's it going?
Good to have you back. Great to have you back.
I am so excited to be back, and it's been a little while since I've picked up my book and read it. So I'm kind of excited to dive deep into memory lane, maybe a little bit.
Nice. Yeah, it's going to be great. So for those who didn't happen to be here the last time or weren't here, who weren't here the last time, those are the same two things. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I am a Canadian author. I have written 3 books in the Chin Up, Tits Out series. Now, it's a wild ride. We're going to dive a little bit into the series, and I'm going to read off of it today. And the next set of books, I'm working on another trilogy as well called Love My Lady Bit. So there's always some like little funny pun or mantra that's twisted into my writing. So Chin Up, Tits Out, Love My Lady Bits. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I'm super stoked to be here and have some fun time sharing today.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a great time. I don't think we've read romantic comedy on here. And so what a great combination. We're going to do romantic comedy and epic fantasy.
Yes. And, if we combine it, we can be Sarah Maas.
That's right. Yeah, you're so right.
And then we'll make millions of dollars together. Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. You guys better get going. You have a lot to do.
Exactly. We'll do some collaborating.
So how about you, Chris? You want to tell us a little bit about you?
Oh, well, as you guys know, I've been writing fantasy. Richard has informed me I'm officially an epic fantasy author, which is, I'm going to keep repeating it because I'm super excited. So, all right, Gaslight on Fantasy. And as you probably remember from last time, I had finished Corrupted Magic. So that is completely out on Kindle Vella and on Patreon. So you can read it 100% there. So that's 2 books out in the series, and I'm working on the 3rd one. I'm currently writing the 2nd episode of Prohibited Magic. That's what it's going to be called. So I've been really enjoying that, and it starts out with Carmichael, and then we go into a character we haven't seen in a while. I won't ruin the surprise because the first 3 episodes are free anyway. So if you guys want to read it for free, you'll be able to. So I think that's what's been going on with me mostly. I'm having a terrible time picking out a picture for the cover. This was not easy for the first 2 books, but it's even harder now. So I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see. I've been going through like billions of pictures and just nothing fits. I hate that. So anyway, that's about what's up with me. What about with you, Richard?
Yeah, I'm halfway through When Legends Rise, which is book 4 of my current Highcliffe Guardian series, and I can't wait to get that out. Actually, I want to move on. I'm at the point where I want to get done with this story and then move on with a different story and start fresh again. So it'll still be in the Soulforge universe, but it'll be a different series, and it'll actually take place before this series. But other than that, I'm back in full swing into my appearances. I call it my book tour. Next Thursday, I'll be attending an awards gala. I'm one of the finalists in the Bernice Adams Literary Awards. So that'll be kind of neat. I have to dress up in a suit and everything else, so I had to actually go out and buy one because my pre-COVID suits don't fit anymore, and I'm not sure what happened there. I think they shrunk, but
clearly.
And next weekend, or a couple of weeks from now, May 27th and 28th, I'll be at the Montworth Medieval Fair at Ancaster Fairgrounds, and they actually have real live jousting there. I've seen it once before. Did an event last year. They had live jousting, and they actually unhorse people in full plate mail, and it looks pretty painful. So I'll be signing books on Friday, June 2nd and Saturday, June 3rd, also at the Robin and the Hood Festival in Elmira. And that is
Are you going to be jousting, Richard?
I will not be jousting, no. Otherwise, I won't be here for our next live read. But the Robin Hood Festival is really neat because it takes place in the woods. So when you're actually there, you feel like you're in Sherwood Forest. So it's pretty cool. And then on the following Saturday, June 10th, I will be at the Wellington County Writers Festival in Fergus. So Fergus is a place that's close to my heart because I sell most of my books in Fergus for some reason. That's where I make my most sales. So I love going back to Fergus. And so if anyone wants any information as to any of my appearances in my upcoming book tour, you can go to my website at www.richardhstevens.com. Stevens is spelled with a PH, and click on the appearances tab. And my wife has updated everything, so you don't have to Google search anything. It's got the times, it's got the addresses and everything else. So she does an awesome job updating my website. But that is basically what's up with me right now. It's getting full swing into my book signing, selling tours. I did 23 events last year. I don't think I'm doing that many this year, but I love doing them still.
It has to be tempting, though, to not go in like a regular suit and just show up in a suit of armor and say you misinterpreted the dress code.
I do wear a knight's costume for most of them. If it's just a writer's festival, I'll just wear probably something like this.
The award.
But I wear, the awards festival. Yeah, no. I should wear a knight's costume there. Yeah, though I'll get kicked out. So what about you, Dave? What's it like up in the cold north?
It's cold and it's actually very, very wet. It's been raining almost non-stop for the last 5 days.
Yeah, we're the same here.
Honestly, it's like everything's flooding. So we seem to be okay at the moment. So fingers crossed. But yeah. But in terms of writing and everything, well, I have now actually finished, at least as far as I know, all of the edits on Quellengtion Swarm, which is Logan's World Book 3. And
Nice.
It will be releasing on May the 18th.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, that's great. Ooh,
So,
exciting.
yeah. Woo! Finally, I can see the back of it. Get out of here. I'm sick of it.
Yeah,
And so I'm moving on to the next series, which
Awesome.
That'll
will
be
be
great.
slightly different, but still in the same universe. So, but unlike you, Richard, I'm working forwards in time. So
Right. Yeah. I keep going backwards. I'm like Star Wars. I just keep going back and back and back. But this series I'm writing next will be the first series in my universe, and from that point forward, I'm going forward. And then
That's what you say now.
I got to hook it up to the actual book that we're reading tonight is book 2 in my original series, which is actually the last series of my universe. So my universe is all done already. I already have the final written, and now I'm just writing into it. So yeah, if something happens to me tomorrow, at least my readers can finish my series and know how it ends. So,
That's nice.
yeah, that's a nice thought. Yeah, my books might be worth more too then. So yeah. Actually, Dave yesterday he sent me a thing that Amazon was selling my second and third book in the Legends of the Lurker for like $4, the print books. And he goes, so of course I'm concerned that I've got my pricing wrong, and I went and checked my pricing and it's fine. But while I was in there, I saw a collector's edition of Rika's Flight for sale. And I thought, oh, isn't that neat? I have a collector's edition. I never put a collector's edition out there. Someone bought my book or found it somewhere, or maybe they found it on the side of the road, but it had my signature and everything else in it. And someone's selling it on Amazon as a collector's edition. So they're not far off from the truth because it's my original cover. I've changed my cover since then. So it'll actually be a rare cover. So if anyone knows that and they're savvy and all of a sudden I become famous somehow, that book will be worth a lot of money.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was neat. I have a collector's edition, but
nice, awesome.
So, if we want to get started, Miranda, we're going to have you slowly introduce your story, the characters, and who's doing what. And I'm not sure about Dave or Christy, but I have to change into something, so I will kind of be flitting off the screen. But so you go ahead, Miranda.
I will set the stage here and get everybody prepped and ready. So we are going to read the prologue from the third book called Chin Up, Tits Out, Just Breathe. Now, we had just kind of mentioned Star Wars. So there's something that I did with the prologues. Each of the prologue for Chin Up, Tits Out, the first 2 books or actually for the first 3 books, are all set in the future, years before book 1 and 2 even, or sorry, years before book 3 even takes place. So it's kind of all backwards. That this third prologue wraps up the story that is kind of set in the future, and it kind of preps you for this wild ride that book 3 is. So a little bit more background. Now, prologue in book 1, which is called Remember, No Matter What, Chin Up, Tits Out. Hadley, our main character, is getting ready for her first date post a divorce, a separation. And as she's getting ready, she has this massive panic attack. So she takes you through getting ready and getting through this panic attack, breath by breath. Now, book 2, the prologue for book 2, and that book is called When All Else Fails, Chin Up, Tits Out. The readers are taken on that date with Hadley. And as she's working through her nerves and finding extremely entertaining ways to cope and kind of swallow that anxiety, at the end of the date, she gets this confidence up inside of her and asks her date to go home together with her, which now is the prologue for book 3, where it's the morning after the date. And like I said, this is kind of prefacing where book 3 is going to take you. So how we end this little story today, it would be kind of just continuing on that story if you just kept flipping through the pages. So we have 4-ish characters today. I'm going to be the narrator and Hadley, her external dialogue. And Christy, she's going to be Hadley's internal dialogue. So a little bit of background on Hadley. She's mid-20s. She's strong, bubbly, very upbeat, driven woman. She's our main character for all the Chin Up, Tits Out series. And then her internal voice interjects throughout the story. And she is sassy and theatrical, and kind of snaps back, or is, super pouty. It's kind of that extreme emotion, that little monkey chatter inside your brain that goes off. Now, David's going to play Hadley's date. So he's a mid-20-something-year-old Zambian man who very much admires Hadley. He's cute, but not overly smart. he's just like really, really loves being in this moment with Hadley, and that's kind of the depth of his character in this moment. Now Richard Hadley is gonna play Dr. David, and that's Hadley's psychotherapist, and he's an eccentric Eastern European man who has a very kind of calm demeanor, but he's a little unique in there. So funny story, I went to the chiropractor 2 days ago with my daughter, and I'm like, Dr. David, and the woman's like, you mean Dr. Derek? I was like, why am I calling this guy Dr. David? And then it hit me, I'm like, so I wrote a book and then the therapist in the book, his name is Dr. David, so that's why. She's like, I don't care, go into the room. I'm like, happy Monday. Accidents happen.
The perils of being creative.
I was preparing, and so it kind of stuck in my head. Richard, I love the glam. It's perfect. Fantastic. Okay, so that's kind of the background, and we set the stage. Are we ready to get going? Is this where we're at? Oh my God, I'm so excited. Okay, let me get me. Whew. I'm going to be tired after this. All right. Shake it out. Okay. I awoke slowly, struggling to become aware of my surroundings. I forced my eyes open and tried focusing on a small, blurry, square-shaped hole in the wall as I lay in bed. I blinked a couple more times, trying to get my eyes clear to the haze and the blurriness that refused to subside. As I worked to gain visual focus, a sharp pain stabbed my right temple, causing me to squeeze my eyes shut again.
Take a deep breath, Hadley.
I inhaled deeply until my lungs were filled to capacity. The way they teach you in yoga class. And on my exhale, I opened my eyes once again to the hole, and that pain in my right temple refusing to subside. This time, the pain made my stomach spiral as the bile crawled up my throat. Afraid of throwing up in bed, I shot up into the sitting position.
Holy crap, Hadley. What have you done?
My head felt like someone with a jackhammer on my temple, and my stomach was turning, and once again, I tried to lock my gaze into that hole. I tried to focus, but this migraine had taken away my clear vision again. I reached to the wall to make sure it was real, feeling the hole with the tips of my fingers. I forced myself to focus. It was square-ish in shape. OMG. It was a hole from a stiletto heel, but not mine. I looked down to my left and I saw this sleek, muscled, naked body passed out next to me. Whew. The stark contrast of my pasty white skin next to all this black muscle jolted me back into reality.
Well, I guess I could cross that off my to-do list. My therapist keeps telling me that at some point I would be intimate with another man. I didn't think it would ever happen, at least not like this, as the thought of being intimate with someone other than my husband was still raw and hurt to actually think about. Actually, come to think of it, what did I expect? Prince Charming on a strapping stallion carrying me off to a bed full of rose petals, romance, and chocolate-covered strawberries with champagne? I used to believe in fairy tales. WTF, guess I'm going to have to look to Disney for other wisdom. How on earth did I ever get into such a horrible place in my life?
The pain in my head was agonizing. Imagine an ice pick slowly slicing deep into your temple, and then, as a sick joke, it being pulled back out, then pushed back in, and over again. The pain was stifling and made it very hard to breathe. All I wanted to do was climb over this unconscious body, find a bathroom, and vomit without humiliating myself any further. I struggled to maneuver and find a way to get up, attempting to gently step over all the sleek muscle of my date from the night before. He slid his leg out to the side just as I made my tentative step over him, and I successfully planted my foot on his junk.
Yep, his junk. As if this couldn't get any more awkward. Seriously, you just had to move. I land right on it, the one place I shouldn't step. Honestly, I think this is the cosmic universe's way of punishing me. Hadley, get your act together.
My date jumped up, had howling pain, and all that muscle, he screamed like a girl. Go figure! It was high-pitched and painful to my ears, especially to my poor sensitive head. I couldn't really do much but hop down, gag once or twice, then full-on dry heave as I ran out of the room, hoping to find a bathroom nearby.
Seriously, they never talk about stuff like this in fairy tales. Well, that wasn't remotely graceful. I'm sure I will think this is hilarious at some point in my life, just not now.
Once I finished hurling my guts out, I rinsed my mouth and ran my fingers through last night's hairstyle in an attempt to make myself look less psychotic, as if that was even possible.
With my head still aching, I look up at myself in the mirror. CUTO, chin ups, tits out. Hadley, just go in, collect your shit, and find a way out of here. ASAP. Be kind, smile, and find an excuse to GTFO. Get the fuck out.
I cleaned up the bathroom a bit, took a deep breath to help compose myself, and walked back to the room with a newfound grace that sure as hell wasn't there a couple of minutes ago. And there he was, with all his muscles, bright-eyed, big smile, a genuinely kind human. He looked completely oblivious to my inner struggle.
Which I managed to keep on the DL the entire time. Self-high five moment.
This was a bittersweet moment. It was an amazing feeling to see him look at me like he truly cared and was happy to see me, despite the junk incident 5 minutes prior. But unfortunately, the moment was fleeting, because all of a sudden I felt like my mind was hovering above my body, staring down. It was like being in a bad sci-fi movie, except it had become my reality. I felt completely disconnected from him, from my body, and from my mind. And try as I may, I could no longer bring the two separate entities that I had become together. If I couldn't connect myself and feel whole, how the hell can I connect with somebody who was kind and gentle, but had instantly become a complete stranger?
Imagine a big hole inside your chest. No feelings, just a vast empty hole devoid of emotion. Like seeing the world with no color, taste, or smell. Everything you thought you knew, it ceases to exist the way you remember it. You don't know why, but somehow you no longer belong anywhere.
Hey, sorry about earlier. You know those morning peas. Sometimes you just gotta wake up and you just need to go. I giggled shamelessly, trying not to blush too much, praying to all higher powers that he didn't hear my retching and mini meltdown in the bathroom.
No biggie, it happens. We just moved at the wrong time. I do know how you can make it up to me, though.
He said, biting his bottom lip and reaching for my hips while still in bed. Instantaneously, fear gripped me, and I pulled back and I met his grabby hands with mine, squeezing them tight. Sorry, I have to get going, and I promised my cousin I would go to yoga with her this morning, and I completely forgot until I woke up, and I didn't really expect to spend the night here last night. At this point, I was blushing, which I'm sure he found flattering. I had for sure turned redder than the life-sized Manchester United flag pinned up to the wall behind me. He politely smiled, pulled himself up, leaned in for a kiss, and nodded in agreement.
Did you need a ride somewhere?
I smiled and I nodded, finally feeling a bit of relief at the thought of escaping. The most relief I had felt since I opened my eyes that morning.
All right, I'll let you make it up to me another day.
He rolled out of bed, squeezed my bum cheek, bit his lip, shook his head, and then walked off to get his things.
I remember when Rianne was like that with me. He would look at me with so much love that I couldn't help feeling adored. Having Rianne by my side gave me fearless confidence. It was a strange feeling to have another man appreciate the naturalness of my body. It was also weird as shit to have a man I didn't really know look at my body like that in general. God damn, so conflicting.
We gathered our things, and I texted my cousin Amanda to explain the situation and tell her I was getting dropped off at her house and we could still go to yoga. I also told her I needed a water bottle, yoga clothing, and the strongest pain meds she had in her cupboard. I hadn't brought my migraine medication and was desperate for anything to help me subside this throbbing pain in my head.
Migraines have plagued my life lately, but as batshit crazy as this sounds, I couldn't help feeling like it was some form of punishment.
Amanda, being the amazing woman she is, she met us at the door of her condo with all the yoga stuff requested in tow.
God, I love this woman.
My date winked at me, leaned in, and kissed me goodbye.
Goodbye, Hadley. I had a really amazing night. Let me know when I can see you again, okay?
He smiled big with his eyes while smirking slightly.
As kind, gentle, and amazingly sexy as you are, hell no, this ain't happening again. Hadley, you are not a masochist. Nope. But thanks.
I smiled wide, closed my eyes, and nodded extensively until he pulled my face in for one last kiss.
What the hell?
His sweet sincerity was like a double-edged sword. I should really have been flattered, and yet this only caused me physical pain and severe anxiety, as I truly could not understand how someone could want to be with me. So again, I closed off my heart to prevent any more pain.
Yes, pain is what happens when you love. Richard, you're muted.
Thanks for sharing this, Hadley. This step in your recovery is a huge success.
Dr. David looked over his glasses at me from the chair in his office.
Dr. David is my eccentric psychotherapist. I've been seeing him for about a month, and I just confessed, or at least that's what it felt like, to him about my first date and one night stand after Rhiannon left. Oh my good God, I am kind of tripping out right now. Here comes the migraine pain.
Well, Doc, I don't know about a huge success. The jackhammer in my head is kicking in. Here comes another migraine, and I feel completely distraught and torn about all of this. I don't see how this is good at all, I squeaked out while a tear rolled down my cheek.
Oh, girl, please don't cry. Crying makes the head pain worse. Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry.
Hedley, during our last couple of sessions, you told me about Rianne and how you two met. You explained to me the immigration issues and your long distance relationship. You shared with me your struggles and your journey as a loving wife who morphed into the caregiver of a cancer patient, your mentally ill husband who suffered from addiction. Now, I want you to share with me what led you to this date. You are learning to trust yourself again and open up to other people, new people. As I said, new people and new experiences create new memories. These can help override old memories, although painful memories will never be completely gone, of course. But do you see where I'm going with this?
He calmly said with his heavy European accent with a side smirk. So you mean you want me to tell you what happened after my husband left? My eyes widened and filled with tears. Dr. David looked into my eyes and nodded. I had to break his stare as it pierced through my soul and crushed my heart. Ryan had left. He was gone, and I had slept with someone new. The only thing I could feel was raw emptiness. Like all that was good in my life no longer existed. And I finally succeeded in stamping it all out. Hell, it was like I no longer existed.
All color, taste, and smell were forever gone.
Raw from the inside out.
Literally. Between you and me, there may have been ice pack action going on after yoga and that date. But that is a different story for another day because I promise I do eventually realize how awesome my first date was.
Yay!
Very good. Really enjoyed that.
Oh, I had a
fun.
lot of fun. See, I found now, it was years ago, and I find it very funny, that date.
Richard is a great psychiatrist. Huh?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, he wait.
What's that?
Go Liverpool. Yeah, we're a Chelsea household, so.
Oh, you poor thing. I just watched that game today. I'm a
Oh,
Manchester
yeah.
United fan.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't read that part before we came on air because I have Manchester United banners everywhere. I've seen Manchester games at Old Trafford. Well, I tried to see one, but there's a bomb threat got us kicked out. But that's a different story. But I am a big Manchester United fan. So,
Oh yeah, we have all of our kids have gone through the one Chelsea little onesie. They wear it on game day, and then my husband's like, "All right, that's enough now. We're gonna put it away till the next game. Next kid, next game. So we're good."
so Miranda, I'm not sure if you have anything to get set up for, but I do. So if you want to tell us a little bit more about maybe what's coming up next for
Yep,
Miranda
for
Oh,
sure.
and series and stuff like that, I'm
Yeah,
just
for
going to
sure.
come off screen here for a minute, and I just have to get into character. So I will be about 2 minutes, and then I'll be right back.
All right, perfect. So what is next for me is, like I had mentioned earlier in the segment, that I'm working on another series called Love My Lady Bits. So a few years ago, I was diagnosed with a condition called endometriosis and another condition called adenomyosis. They both kind of start within your reproductive organs and go all over the place, and it can get really sciencey, and I'd be very happy to get into it, but that's not what we're here for. What we're here for is loving our lady bits even though they give us trouble. So what I did was I interviewed 100 women from around the world, age ranging from 18 to 60 something, and all of those women have endometriosis. Now, if you don't know what endometriosis is, you're going to have no idea what endometriosis is. And if you know somebody with endometriosis, you're going to know that it's a terrible disease and very hard to live with. So interviewing 100 women well pregnant, even though I wasn't supposed to get pregnant because of my endometriosis, was a wild ride. I was like, yeah, I'm totally going to write a fiction book when I'm on my mat leave with my first kid. And that didn't happen. I think I wrote like 1,000 words. And then we're like, you know what, let's rapid fire some kids out. Let's just get our family expansion done. So we did a buy one, get one deal. So we ended up with twins. They're about 8 months old now. And I was like, I'm going to finish writing this book on this mat leave. And they're 8 months old on the 3rd. Of whatever month we're in, May right now, I guess. Yeah. So they're about 8 months old, and they're massive, and they're almost walking. And I have about 60% of the book done. So we do have more done. And it's going to be 3 books. It's absolutely, it has everything. It has everything. There's romance, there's comedy, there's dark stuff, there's taboo stuff. You know, you're talking about pregnancies, you're talking about loss, you're talking about menstrual cycles, you're talking about puberty, you're talking about menopause, you're talking about abuse, you're talking about sex, happiness, employment, careers. Like, there's everything. If you have lady bits, if you have a set of lady bits yourself, you need to read this book. If you love lady bits, you need to read this series. And now we need to go back to this, because I want to talk about this.
I am really excited, just to throw in there, I'm really excited for your book though, Miranda. I really am.
I'm so excited. Well, I mean, you're getting to edit it, Chrissy. So obviously if you want it, but you get first dibs. You get first right of refusal. I love that.
Acceptance, yeah. Richard, you look amazing.
Well, thank you.
Gosh, I can't wait. Yes.
Okay, so where can we find your books, Miranda?
You can find book 1 and 2 on Amazon. Book 3, you have to reach out to me directly on any social media platforms, and I will mail it out to you. I had to do a cover redesign, but I need to get rid of all the old books first before I do all the new stuff, and I don't have time right now. So you want a 3rd book? I will mail you a 3rd book. Just pay for shipping.
And how they get a hold of you? What's the address to get a hold of you?
You can, the little thingamabobber right there, you can find me right there.
Perfect.
And then we can talk about it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce what we're going to read from my book. This is actually the 2nd book in my Soulforge saga. Oh, nice.
Oh my goodness.
I love the eyes.
But is it whipped cream around your mouth?
I think he's doing the cucumber manicure facial. So that's awesome, Dave, because if anyone is familiar with Elhina, who David is, he's a 150-year-old man who has no color in his eyes whatsoever. So other than his pupil, obviously, but so he's got milky white eyes, and that's awesome. So we're doing an excerpt from Wizard of the North. That's book 2 in the Soulforge saga. That was my original series. Soulforge was the book that I was in my head for 35 years, and I never knew what I was going to do with Wizard of the North until my cover artist actually put a staff in Elhina's hand on the cover, which is never supposed to happen. But that opened up all book 2 for me, and I knew exactly where Wizard of the North was going. So today, Christy is going to play Sidira, who's a fun-loving Helen Boots archer who wears her heart on her sleeve. She's not afraid to speak her mind, and she's an archer with a Splendor Catacombs guard. Miranda is playing Lorena. She's similar to Sidira, but a little more reserved. She's also an archer with the Splendor Catacombs guard. And then we have Dave, who is Elhina. He's a senior messenger for the Chamber of the Wise. He's a wizened old man. So it's funny how your character changes, Dave, because you weren't very smart in the last excerpt we had, but you're a wizened old man who speaks without using contractions. And that's very hard to do when you're writing a book and editing it. I had to write everything he said without contractions, and I still find the odd one every now and then I got to edit out, even now after they've been published for 4 years. But so he is a
contraction.
What's that?
What's a contraction?
That's when you're pregnant and you're just no. That's so Elhina's like a grandfather figure to Sidira and Lorena. And I am Omar, the half giant, and I'm also the narrator. So Omar is the half giant, and he's the helmsman on the ocean-going vessel Gerrymander, but he's now with these 2 archers. I'm Omar is simple in demeanor, but he's a ferocious defender of those he cares about, which is the two women he's with. So the scene is after escaping the dungeons of Grishin, this is well inland, so he's out of his element, through a lengthy tunnel that runs beneath the dungeons, the dangerous region known as the Torpid Marsh. They find themselves trapped with no way forward through the marshland. The injured Elhina decides they cannot remain in the swamp. Instead, he insists they return to Grishin, despite the imminent threat they will face upon their arrival. So if you guys are ready.
I'm ready. I'm in love with this half of the screen right here. This is perfect. I love it.
Okay, so I'll just start the narration.
Elhina was muted, Miranda. Did you want to say something?
Oh, let's go ahead, Miranda.
Unmute.
You're muted, yeah.
I said I feel like I have to go get my steak knife so I look like the picture.
Yeah.
If you want to go get a steak knife, you go ahead. But she won't have. She won't. I don't know if she won't.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess.
You know what? I will trip and fall up the stairs. Like it is because I will be so excited that and then you're just gonna be. Miranda's out.
She's got a cross her back right now. So if you got a crossbow handy.
Yeah, I'll let you just go grab it. It's just around the corner.
All right. So Elhina was adamant, as much as Sidira argued that returning to Grishin and the Chamber of the Wise was nothing short of suicidal, especially after what they had done to escape his dungeon cells. He wouldn't be swayed. They had to go back. The fire that Omar had built crackled and sputtered on a mass of bulrushes and other bits of swamp refuse, while strange animal cries pierced the still air of Torpid Marsh.
Pops.
Sidira pleaded, her hands gesticulating her point.
If we go back, we'll be hanged at the very least. As tough as Midge thinks he is.
She indicated the giant Omar.
4 of us are no match for the Grishin militia.
Elhina calmly waited until she finished her rant, a sad smile creasing his wrinkles.
We must. The chamber has been compromised, as Solomon claims. But it is worse than that. One of Helidon's demons has control of the chamber master, and probably most of the council as well. Vice Chamber Mistress gross of a certainty, but I assure there are others.
Sidira wanted to protest, but her argument suddenly lacked conviction.
And believe me when I say a creature controls the chamber. I was interrogated by it at length. I shudder to think what I divulged.
Lorena chimed in.
No offense, Pops, but you're just a messenger. How bad can your secrets be?
Elhina regarded the brunette with his white eyes.
Don't be hasty in your judgment of what you know not. Unless you follow in a person's path, you have no idea what mysteries they hide.
That sounds like something a wizard would say. Whatever you told them doesn't change the fact that returning to Grishin is the last thing we should do.
Elhina afforded her a patient smile.
Perhaps not, but what I learned while in the demon's clutches has left us little choice. Its intentions are troubling beyond belief.
Lorena waited for him to continue, but he said no more. She turned her glare on Sidira.
I could slap him when he does this.
Sidira nodded and sat down beside Elhina, shifting her hips so that she could snuggle up to him, and placed a hand on his outstretched leg.
What is it, Pops? What could be so bad that we need to risk our lives by returning to the chamber?
Elhina glanced at her hand, then into her eyes.
According to the High Bishop, what's left of the royal forces will arrive any day now.
That's a good thing, no? King Malcolm will see the wrong in the chamber.
Quite the contrary. I fear we may already be too late.
Elhina cautioned, but offered no more. Sidira squeezed his bony thigh through his robes.
Too late? For what?
To save the king.
And the bit of narration comes in here, so they flee back through the long tunnel beneath the Torpid Marsh, the giant Omar, myself, having to carry the recently injured old messenger Elhina through the cramped passageway toward the distant steps leading up to the underground warrens of Grishin and the Chamber of the Wise. Sidira stood at the bottom of the long stairwell, impatiently waiting for the others to catch up. Elhina insisted that he be allowed to walk the last league on his own, and the pace had suffered as a result. But Lorena pointed out that if they wanted to have any chance of rescuing the king, they all needed to be as rested as possible. To expect Omar to carry the old messenger all the way back to Grishin and then fight like there was no tomorrow was too much to ask of even the giant. To his credit, Omar had offered anyway. The faint glow of Alhina's torch appeared down the tunnel. Gradually, Omar's muted voice reached Sadira as he loped along, hunched over in the low tunnel, breathing hard. She smiled, hearing Lorena curse, her friend's slight form hidden behind Omar's girth.
Can't you move any faster, lunkhead? Sadira is probably dining with the king by now.
Bah! That's her just up ahead. Don't you knot your knickers, lassie? You'll be moving quick like soon enough.
Shh!
Sadira hissed.
They'll hear you all the way back to the swamp.
Alhina gave her a forced smile and sat on the bottom step, clearly exhausted. Omar dropped to his knees and stretched his back, forcing Lorena to squeeze past his bulk. Her torch nearly burnt his shoulder. Craddock Horson, lassie. You're trying to incinerate old Omar.
It's a wonder you fit down here.
Lorena grunted as she stopped in front of Sadira and addressed her Songberthian companion.
You ready?
Sadira cast a sidelong glance at Alhina and Omar. Neither appeared ready to face what awaited them.
Let's rest a bit. The healer's chamber is empty and the hall beyond was quiet.
You've already been up there?
Lorena was clearly surprised.
Of course. Surely you didn't expect me to do nothing while I waited for you guys to crawl here.
Sadira winked, knowing full well Lorena had no choice in the matter. Lorena had hung back to protect the rear in case someone or something followed them down the tunnel from the far end. Alhina pulled himself to his feet with the aid of his stick. Without a word, he started up the long flight of flagstones. Sadira looked to the fatigued giant and called after Alhina.
Save some fun for Midge if we ever get him moving again.
Lorena squeezed between her and the wall.
You stay with Lunkhead. I'll go after Pops.
Lorena's torchlight quickly dimmed in the distance above. Lorena offered Omar a hand up, the gesture symbolic, as she weighed less than one of his legs. Omar rose, knocking his head off the roof. Sadira couldn't help but laugh. Aye, laugh at poor Omar, why don't you? You'll be needing me soon enough.
Get over yourself. I'll likely be carrying your sorry hide before long. Now come on. You go first. I'll watch your arse.
She slapped his rump as he pushed by her.
Not that I'll have a choice.
Omar cast her a dirty look over his shoulder. His momentary lapse in concentration, causing him to bang his head into the low ceiling. Sadira laughed harder. The door at the top of the steps is open by the time Sadira and Omar reached it. On the far side of the small room, Lorena stood with her ear to the door that led into the main passageway beyond. The old messenger was sitting on the edge of the bed, close to Lorena, fingering his makeshift walking stick, and said,
We need to find my staff.
Your staff?
Lorena thought that a strange request. They didn't have time to look for Alhina's previous walking stick.
That one will have to do. I'll make you a better one after we save the king.
You do not understand. I need that one. If we are to rescue King Malcolm, we require my staff.
Lorena stepped away from the door and mouthed.
Your staff?
Alhina looked at the three people in the room and sighed.
There comes a time when all things must be revealed.
When he said no more, his companions glared. Sadira felt like punching him. She plonked herself on the bed, careful her crossbow throws didn't jab him, and grabbed his nearest wrist.
What are you talking about?
Lorena pulled the door open a crack to peer out momentarily. She closed it again to listen to what Alhina had to say.
I'm afraid it's a long story.
We're a little short on time at the moment.
Sadira said through clenched teeth. Lorena gestured with her hands for them to hurry up.
All is not as it appears. The timing is not right, but alas, circumstances dictate that now is indeed the time.
Alhina said, and fell silent again. Sadira stared hard, willing him to continue. When he didn't, she shot a quick glance at Lorena, who rolled her eyes. Sadira grabbed Alhina by the shoulders, turning him to look at her and shaking him harder than she meant to.
For the love of all that's left in this world, Gramps, we don't have time for your riddles. Just tell us. You sound like a
wizard.
Alhina's soft voice answered for her.
Yes, exactly. You sound like...
Sadira's storm gray eyes grew wide, comprehension settling in. She realized she still grasped his shoulders, and not lightly, but couldn't help herself. Her next words were awestruck.
You are a wizard.
Alhina nodded.
Not just any wizard, the Wizard of the North.
Olmar could be heard muttering in wonder from just inside the back door. Well, I'll be the whelp of a tart. Pops is a wizard. Sidira dropped her hands and tilted her head, clearly thrown by Alhina's revelation. Her mind flashed back to their time together during the quest to the Underrealm. His admission didn't make sense. If he was a wizard, how come he hadn't used his power when they were fighting for their lives? She thought of the cataclysmic transition at the portal, of the sailors who had disappeared beyond the mist at Debacle Lurch, the confrontation between the Boyle and Thetis. And what about Thetis herself? How could he not have seen through her subterfuge? Sidira had never met a wizard before. Her scant knowledge of them had been gleaned through the idle gossip amongst her peers in the Songsberthian Guard. Her head spun with unanswered questions. Why hadn't Alhina intervened when the Boyle wizard Mentliot had attacked Slurian within their cliffside home? She envisioned the horrific battle upon the Dead Plains, where so many quest members had perished at the talons of the minion horde, attacking them from the ground and sky. If Alhina was a wizard, where was he then? Where was he when Slurian had needed him most? That brave man had sacrificed his life to save them all, and not once had Alhina done anything to intervene, other than to whack demons over the head with that damned walking stick. If that was the extent of his wizardry powers, King Malcolm was doomed. She tried to quell her conflicting emotions, to concentrate on what was important at the moment. She had admired Alhina, looked up to him. If he was indeed a wizard, and he hadn't done anything to turn the tide of the quest struggles up to now, she was afraid that knowledge would break her heart. She swallowed the accusation, threatening to drip from the end of her tongue, and asked,
The Wizard of the North? What exactly does that mean?
It means, dear Sadie,
Alhina said with a sad smile,
that I am the only one capable of preventing the king's death. If we do not retrieve my staff, we will soon all be dead.
Sidira had no idea what the significance of him claiming to be a wizard of the North meant to their chances. Did his title mean that he was from the Kradek Empire? She didn't think so. Perhaps north of that, from the lands of eternal wind and snow. That might explain those marble eyes. Baffled by his previous inaction, she couldn't help herself.
But why?
Alhina tilted his head in question.
Where were you when the quest needed you? People died in that damn place beneath the ocean. Good people.
Alhina looked away, seemingly ashamed.
How could you?
Sidira's voice rose.
If you had done something, Silurian might still be alive.
Alhina hung his head and muttered,
It is complicated. The timing was not right. It is a long story. You would not understand, even if I had time to explain.
Lavina pressed her ear against the door, holding up a hand and putting a finger to her lips. Olmar maneuvered his bulk past Sidira and Alhina. He paused to look at Alhina, a hurt look on his face, and moved to stand beside the door with the dungeon keeper's sword held at the ready. Sidira couldn't take her angered glare from the old man. When she mentioned Slurian, his face had gone ashen. Lavina pulled the door open a crack, and then wide enough to stick her head out. She closed it again.
It's clear. Now, Mr. Wizard Pops, how do you even expect us to find your staff in a place like this? We don't have a clue where to start.
Swallowing her ire for the time being, Sidira stood up.
If we find this staff of yours, do you plan on using it for more than a head basher and perhaps help this time? Or aren't we worth the effort in your wizardly eyes?
Alhina pursed his lips, casting his eyes to the floor. Sidira feared he wouldn't say anything else. She wanted to throttle him. Finally, he nodded.
The surprise has been taken from me.
The surprise has been taken from you?
Sidira glared. What an incredulous statement. Before she could ask what the hell he meant, he lifted his head to regard her with those strange white eyes. It gave her the shivers. Without a word, he stood up, straighter than anyone had seen him stand before. When he spoke, it was as if his voice had changed timbre.
I know exactly where my staff is. I can sense it.
Lavina raised her eyebrows. She put a finger to her lips and cracked the door open again. Satisfied they were alone, she stepped into the passageway and motioned for the others to follow as she started toward the side tunnel leading to the cell block. But Alhina called her back.
This way,
was all he said, striding up the wide main tunnel with barely a limp. Sadira stared after him. The assistance provided by the walking staff had been a ruse all this time. She ushered Olmar past her, quickly checking the side tunnel and down the opposite direction for signs of other people. Satisfied the tunnels were devoid of anyone close by, she sprinted to catch up, her crossbow swinging back and forth within the straps across her back. Lorena slowed their progress, peering down a narrower passage on their right, and then into the 2 mess halls on their left. There wasn't a soul around, but as they approached the sweeping bend toward the Chamber of the Wise, she cautioned everyone with a raised hand. A distant sound of raised voices and something else, indistinguishable, almost animal-like, reached them from beyond the bend. "They be down there," Olmar said, stepping past Lorena and continuing down the main corridor.
wait, my staff is this way.
He pointed down a smaller tunnel branching off to the left. Lorena started after Olmar, crossbow in hand. She paused to look back as Sadira caught up to them. Between rapid breath, well, there you go. There's an edit we got to do. Sadira said,
Rena, you go with Gramps. He might need a lockpick. Mitch and I will remain here to make sure no one follows you.
Lorena was clearly torn. The indecipherable voices coming from the chamber sounded less than amicable. If they were to find the king, it was a good bet he was being held in the Chamber of the Wise. She looked one last time down the chamber tunnel before following Elhina up the side passage. Sadira reached over her shoulder, wriggling the crossbow from its holders, ensuring the quiver containing a dozen bolts was accessible. She loaded one into the flight groove and locked the catch. Another roar arose from the direction of the chamber. Something big was happening. Without thinking, she and Olmar inched their way along the inner curve of the tunnel, hoping to see into the cavern beyond. Twice, a barrage of irate voices froze their progress. After realizing that whoever was responsible wasn't in the tunnel, they continued on. The light in the tunnel brightened the farther they went, but neither of them were prepared for what awaited them when the chamber entrance came into view. And that is the end. We'll leave it on a cliffhanger.
That was great. That was great. I love those characters. They're all so distinct. They're wonderful.
Oh, very much so. I liked it. It was fun.
So next book signing we do, Dave, you have to dress like that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Everyone will be at your table.
Yeah,
Everyone.
exactly. Yeah. But that's why I wear the knight's costume when I do a lot of these things, because instead of just seeing some guy sitting there selling books, I see a knight and I wonder what the heck's going on over there. And then they come over.
You have
Yeah.
no idea how difficult it is to read wearing that.
It's pretty
I know,
cool.
you just have little pinholes. Oh,
It was...
I'm just going to click in here. I don't know if you guys don't have control of the comments anymore either, do you?
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
Well done to you.
that's a shame. So where are we?
David, do tell us your secret of this amazing, amazing facial hair. What is that?
Yes, it's stick on beard and mustache.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if it was something else.
No, it's not foam or anything. It's like stick on
That's great.
fake fur, I guess.
I've been searching for a place that actually sells costumes in Cambridge, and most places just sell them when it's Halloween or close to Halloween. But there is actually 2 costume places I found out when I went to the first one, and then I found my little Olmar beard. I was trying to get it more reddish because he's more red hair, but that's as close as I get. So
I think it's great. It's great.
yeah,
I think it's fantastic.
You could use that, what was that? The mustache thing. I put this in my Victorian group. It's like a little strap that Victorian men could use to keep their mustache out of their
The
food.
mustache guy.
oh yeah, I needed that because I was trying to drink. My throat was getting so dry doing the narration and doing Olmar.
Yeah.
And I tried to drink water through here, and the hairs from the thing kept going down my throat, and I was really
Oh
worse.
gosh.
See, it was a good invention. Oh my god.
So anyway, that was a reading from Wizard of the North, and all my books can be found on Amazon. I'm exclusive to Amazon, so I do Kindle Unlimited because of series. I make more money that way. I tried to go wide last year, and because we're not marketing geniuses that way, we didn't have much success going wide, so we went back into Kindle Unlimited. Now I'm trying to regain the readership I had when I was in there originally. So
Ugh, such a pain.
yeah, well, I read before I went out of Kindle Unlimited that it's a bad thing to do, is to leave and then try and come back, because you will lose readers, and it's so true. And so now I'm just trying to get my page reads back up to where they were. They're certainly nowhere close. I'm maybe about a third of the page reads I used to get, and I have more books, so I haven't figured out the Amazon marketing very well.
It's hard. It's really not easy.
Mm-hmm. But you've inspired me to do Kindle
Unlimited over the cute but not very smart thing.
What's that?
So I'm still smarting over the cute but not very smart thing.
Yeah, you said you're cute, but
you're muted, Miranda.
Sorry, I have screaming children, so if I'm not talking, I'm trying
worries.
to mute myself here so you don't all have to listen to it.
I've got Dave and Christy, so
I was saying that, you know, we all have our talents. Some of us are just really good looking, and then that's the extent of the talent. And some of us are super smart, and some of us land somewhere between. I like to think I'm a little bit of both.
I haven't found my talent yet then.
Oh, goodness gracious.
But anyway, thank you for joining us today, Miranda. It was a lot of fun.
I
Yeah,
had
it was
such
great.
a blast. It was such a great time with you guys. Thank you so much for inviting me.
that was really fun.
You're most welcome. It's nice to get you back on here.
Oh, always.
Before we leave, I just want to introduce our next guest. So on Tuesday, June 13th, we're trying to do them on the second Tuesday of every month, but sometimes it turns into the first Tuesday for scheduling purposes for one of the co-hosts here. So we're aiming for the second Tuesday, but the odd time we'll do the first Tuesday as well. But I think right now we're queued up for June 13th, and we're going to have Karen Eisenbree, and she writes hard sci-fi / rom-com. And I'm not sure how the two mix. So, Dave, maybe that's a genre you need to look into. I think she actually writes two different genres, but that's the way she sent it to me. Hard sci-fi rom-com. I go,
Joe Ballin rom-com. How about
That's
it?
right. Joe Ballin. There you go.
There's no reason you can't write hard sci-fi rom-coms. I mean,
It just seems like an odd thing to me when I read that.
Yeah, the hard
Sounds like
sci-fi
it, but-
just means that you're using real
Right,
science
yep.
kind of thing. So there's no reason why you couldn't have a romantic comedy element to that.
Well, maybe she does that. I'm just assuming that those are two different genres that she writes, and you could be right. She might just write a hard sci-fi rom-com, which would be very interesting.
I mean, like with my characters, like Joe and Dolly, I mean, there's quite a bit of sort of like somewhat romantic comedy between
Yeah,
them.
it definitely is.
Yeah, there is.
And mine are kind of classed somewhat as hard sci-fi, depending how you define it exactly. But you know, science fiction is a setting. It's not a type of story. It can be anything.
And who is our reader? Our other reader is going to be Christy, is it not?
I think it's me. Yeah, I think it's
Yes.
me.
Sorry, I meant to look into that as well. So we did Dave last reading, so it'll be Christy on Tuesday, June 13th. So we'll be looking forward to reading something else from Christy.
Exciting. Yeah, it'll
More
probably
magic.
be from Prohibited Magic. By then I'll have a lot more episodes under my belt. So I will definitely typecast David, as I always do. It's tradition. It must be done.
Well, it was funny because you two are always typecast as some kind of partnership. You get some kind of romantic, or husband and wife, or some kind of partner. And so when Miranda sent it, she'd done that as well. And then I'm looking at it, and the last character that I played, his name was actually Dave. And I'm thinking, oh, that'd be awesome. Dave's playing Dave, but I was Dave. So yeah,
It was
I
just
got to
meant
play Dave.
It was even better for me today because I had two lovely ladies. So I mean,
That's true.
I was like really swimming in cream today.
So that's awesome. So thank you, everyone who joined us, and everyone who will see this post production. We appreciate you all coming in here, and we will send you some stuff in the next couple of days, Miranda, so you can share it around as well. And we invite everybody to comment on the show and what they liked, and we will look forward to talking to everybody on Tuesday, June 13th, as we entertain Karen Eisenbury in an excerpt from Christy Stratos. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Miranda, for being an awesome guest.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time. It was a great Tuesday.
And we have another comment here. Fun show as always. Thank you. So, and
Thanks,
thank you especially for you, Miranda, for making this show great. So
Thank
until we
you.
meet again, everybody, take good care.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.